Good space time, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Citizen Web3 podcast, your source for educational insights into the Web3 universe and your connection hub to discovering those that contribute to building the decentralized world. Today, we are joined by Brian Xin from Uptick. We discuss monopolies, the rules of the game, and adoption. We talk about the Internet of Blockchains, collaboration, and thinking differently. Finally, we touch upon the Web3 mindset, the beauty of decentralized infrastructure, and building. If you enjoy our podcast, please share this episode onto your favorite social platform and help us spread Web3 values into the universe.
I would say, in my view, decentralized infrastructure will become successful, bring people together, even though they don't trust each other. A lot of business people in the traditional business or Web2, they don't believe Web3. They just feel Web3 is just a fancy place. The history won't be the same, but it will repeat in cycles. We believe we should not build another separate island. We should build an internet of blockchain.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the Citizen Web3 podcast. Today, I have the founder of Uptick, Brian, with me today on the show. I'm very glad to have you on, Brian. Hi.
Hi, Serge. Very glad to be here and say hello to everybody on the show.
Before I'm gonna let you introduce yourself and ask you, I just want to say for the listeners, Brian is not alone today. He's got a very cool guest with him together. He's a ginger guest with mustache that we love. I'm not gonna talk about him too much, but I can just tell you, the listeners, he's a very sexy guest as well. He's right there looking at the camera. I can see him. But Brian, I'm gonna stop talking about the cat and I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. Please tell us, me and the listeners, everything you want us to know about you. How did you get into Web3 and what are you working on right now?
Okay, sure. Yes, glad to have the chance to talk here. So I think this is a big question, but I think it's good for me to introduce myself in this way, and so people can know me and about this project. I'm Brian. Actually, I'm internet veteran, I would say. So I entered internet business back to 1997. So that was the early days of Internet One, I would say. So in Silicon Valley. So I started a company, early stage company in 99, do the information retrieval on the e-commerce website. So actually, Amazon was one of our early stage customer. So we still have that check framed on the wall back to Santa Clara in Silicon Valley. So that was my early days. I would say that's also the learning of what is internet and how it can grow and what kind of benefits it can bring to our everyday life. So, after 2000, the internet bubble bursted. So actually, this also connect to what we have right now, right? So basically before 2000, internet was, I would say, it's, a lot of fancy stuff, but people feel it's going nowhere. But after bubble burst, so the real thing starts. The real valuable thing starts. So I will keep it short. But so after that, that company actually got acquired by another big one. So then I and my partner went to Asia, China, to do another startup in China in 2005. So that time was early days of, I would say, mobile internet, wireless value-added service, like a short message, right? So if you, in that age, you can remember there's some reality show, like in US, the American Idol. So people use a short message to vote for their celebrity, right? So that we also did something in China also. So that was the, I would say, biggest election in China for the celebrity. So that was a phenomenon, quite successful. And that company actually went to NASDAQ shortly in 1 year. So after that, we just keep going. So I joined another startup to do the online healthcare management. So that one actually now it's becoming the biggest health check chain, center chain in China. So it also went to NASDAQ after 10 years of its startup. So that actually bring me a lot of domain knowledge, not only the internet, but also internet plus enterprise and on some vertical domain knowledge. So after that, I actually was invited by a local MSN, Microsoft, in the Great China area. I became the CTO of MSN China. So that was brought me back to the center of the internet. So Windows Live Messenger, Bing Search, MSN website, all those old good stuff, right? So, but unfortunately, it's not that shining right now anymore. But that bring me a lot of experience on different angles. So after that, we started our own company again. So basically, we focus on the social media marketing. So at that time, like a Windows Live Messenger, or we have a pretty good social graph and the social active users, but still it's not connect to the real economy. So that's why we want to do the social media marketing, connect to the local merchant promotion and marketing or whatever they do. So that actually brought me to almost 10 years journey on the way. So at that time, I guess you guys might remember some company called Groupon, right? So it's a group buy website. So that's also using the social power to boost the merchant business, local merchant. We call it O2O, online to offline. So we spend a lot of time and efforts on this kind of business in China and also in the Great China and the Southeast Asia region. So some of my friends did very successfully also. So we are friends and competitors. So some already became the giant in the East Asia market. But unfortunately for our business, we didn't grow that big because of the Web 2.0 business. The nature of that is platform-centric. So you have to raise a lot of money, right? So you can use the money, VC money, to acquire users and to compete with your competitors. But actually, it's not really bring the big benefits to the merchants in the first place. And later it becomes this platform-centric, platform monopoly. So that actually brought me some ideas. So what should we do for the next generation of e-commerce or O2O? So that was such a natural thoughts in my mind. So we need to do some decentralized commerce platform for the next generation of internet, because that will bring the merchants, consumers together and without a big monopoly role inside. So that will bring the benefits to everybody. So at that time, 2017 to 18, we actually find the blockchain technology is the best choice. It actually brings the technology down to the this business model level, so it can ensure us to do something pretty innovative, but without really depending on the huge VC money. So blockchain technology, smart contract, and tokenomics. So I would say those are three basic elements is changing the game rules. So that actually make us very excited and jump into that, bring bring our existing solution. We want to convert it into the Web3. So, but well, that's another journey started. So, but the problem is, so we were probably one of the first group of people using NFT to do the show tickets on Ethereum back to 2018, right after CryptoKitty. So it was very exciting, but the problem is that the performance on Ethereum at that time was so poor, right? So we even talked to like a Ticketmaster, some partners want to do some test in China and the Asian market, but it remained as a discussion, because of it's never going to that commercial level to serve every consumer well. So that actually brought us some more ideas. So how can we make this kind of idea into the reality? So step by step, it's pushing us to the ground to check out what should we do. If we just build the application, it doesn't really go anywhere. Especially it heavily depends on the base platform and the infrastructure. So, but at that time, other blockchain platform is also just growing, right? So, and if you guys remember the Terra and the FTX and cost Solana, the ecosystem just collapsed. So that actually make us feel, okay, if we don't have a solid ground to build the business on top of that, it's difficult to convince any real business move into that, right? So we are just defining the case by ourselves and enjoy self-entertaining by ourselves. It's really not going to break the circle and to cause the massive adoption. So that's something we feel, okay, in this case, we should not just focus on the application, but we should focus more on the infrastructure. So that's the beginning of the Uptick Network. So we chose to build our base layer with Cosmos SDK, and also building the cross-chain bridges to make the interoperability ready. Because we believe we should not build another separate island. We should build a internet of blockchain, interconnected world. So there are so many great ecosystems existing already. So we should not just compete, but more to collaborate together. So that was the vision in our mind. So we built it, and the Uptick chain is up and running, but still it's not enough. So, in traditional software engineering, we all talk about middleware. So middleware is I would say, transformer, right? So from the business logic into a platform can enable the app layer application can run smoothly. Again, the middle layer is also required in the Web3 world. Someone just say, okay, so it's more like a protocol layer, right? So we can build a bunch of protocol with some business logic built inside and to power the Web3. Yeah, that's true. So that's why we have a protocol layer, but still not enough. So we just found, okay, not every application and business, they really want to join the pure decentralization type of application, but because of the performance and there's so many other factors. So that's why we want to build, we try to build another layer on top of protocol, which is Uptick service. The service can be pretty centralized and provided through the crowd. So, but that's actually will be very comfortable for the traditional developer to build application on top of that. Yeah, that's our approach. This is basically the Uptick infrastructure we have been building for over 3.5 years already. Yeah, so Yeah, that's where we are. So well, now we have our core application, which is a marketplace on top of that, and also the wallet on top of that. We just feel, okay, so those two are also two essential parts for any type of business. So with that, so now we are ready to expand to the ecosystem development phase. So we want to work with partners to build real world use cases on top of that. Yeah, because we feel the current crypto or Web3 industry really, it has been grow up so well. So some technology are getting mature. But the problem is we need to make it business ready, right? Just like we need to make sure its usability is ready for the normal business and the normal users. So that's something I think we need to really focus on. Otherwise, the massive adoption will be still a story, right? Uh, yeah, so that's something we're working on. Keep us pretty busy. Yeah.
I definitely am going to ask you about adoption, but before we go there, I have a few questions from the introduction you were doing. The first one is going to be a very easy question. Would you consider yourself a digital entrepreneur or an internet entrepreneur?
Of course, I consider myself internet entrepreneur because my whole career has been in this industry, 25 years. So this Uptick Network project is my number 5 startups down the road. Yeah.
It's an amazing story because, it's not very, I don't think it's very often. I think it's 50-50. You have like in crypto today and Web3, it's 50-50. Usually you have the founders who are like 14, 15, 16, 17. And then you have, the founders like yourself with a lot of experience who are entrepreneurs. And it's very interesting to see that combination of energy. Did you notice that? Do you think that there is like a big difference between those type of founders? Do you think that's maybe because sometimes, people say there are different communities within Web3, right? There is like community that does this, a community that is more interested in values, a community that's more interested in money, a community that is more interested in infrastructure, whatever. Do you think it's because of the background of the people who build these projects, or it's more about the community and social factors and stuff like that? Why is there big differences?
Yeah, I think that I do believe there's a big differences between the different founders, different projects, and also because of the projects and the founders, they will connect to or build different communities, right? So I would say, actually, to myself, I would say the difference is pretty good. So we need to learn from different projects. For example, some projects are very crypto native, right? So they don't need to have previous experience on the hard journey we had before, but they are pretty native to think about tokenomics, and the DeFi, all those things together to build some maybe first is pretty fancy, but very creative. It has think differently, right, to build something new. So actually, I also learn a lot from them. So in this case, actually, I always ask myself, like especially 4 or 5 years ago, I need to think in the way they think. So then I can really understand what they're doing, right? So not just like some old guys, other old guys just feel this a bunch of crazy people doing some nonsense stuff. So this is actually I would say the Web3 mindset change. So if we really want to work in Web3 industry, we need to change our mindset. So the old journey, old credit, still worth a lot, but it's not by default. We can bring it into Web3. So we need to learn Web3 in the Web3 way with Web3 folks. At the same time, I think with that in place, my past experience might be a little plus for us because we have been through several cycles of industry, right, product and the business. So we might know a little bit more on the hurdles, especially on the operation side. How can a real project can land into the industry and also be sustainable in the long run, right? It's not just a simple model and up and running, but usually it's up and down. So that's something we learned in the past experience. So together, I would say combine them together, maybe give us some advantage to make something sustainable, right? So I always believe, Web3 is not a parallel world to rest of the world. So it should be part of the next generation of internet. So if that's the case, we need to make sure it will be sustainable, right? So that's the same to Web 1 and Web 2 time frame. So that's my feel, right? So I think difference is good. So Web 3 is changing a lot on the business model side. So with that kind of diversified players, communities, that can actually will really bring us some insights, right? So innovative ideas to do things differently, right? So it's just like people say, okay, if you do Web3 or if you just move Web 2 application into Web 3, what's the value of that, right? So in my case, I just say, okay, there's no value. It's not necessary to do such shift because just you want to do Web 3. So we need to do something different and new in Web 3. So that's why, actually recently we are working on several Web3 economy models. So that's also very important for us to bring the right methodology into the Web3 to support different vertical categories and the large-scale softwares, and bring them into the reality. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't going to ask this question, but I forgot about it. It's a question that, but while you were talking about Web 2 and Web 3, it's definitely the question that I want to ask you now. I was asking this question a lot of founders. I did like this series of interview a few years ago in Lisbon Blockchain Week, and actually there was a lot of Cosmos founders mainly. And it was like a series of 5 questions, which, they were like, they didn't know that they were being asked the same questions, but it was the same questions pretty much. And there is one question now that I remember from there, and I want to ask you that question. It's a very easy and a very difficult question at the same time. So as somebody who, like yourself, Brian, who has spent, not 1 and not 2 and not 3 years trying to build a product, and a product that obviously from, the way you talk, the way you tell about it, it's obviously, I don't know whether how it's perceived to people who listen, but when you look at the person, you can tell that the person is alive, they're talking about it, and it's something that is, in there. But the question is like this: do you think, it's a weird question, but I want you to think about it. Do you think that what you are building and what you have built in blockchain has changed the life of at least one person for the good who is not from blockchain? A person who never heard of blockchain, but because of Uptick or because of what Brian was building. The question is in a different way to ask that question that I was asking the founders. I was saying, okay, some of you guys, and myself included, have spent 10 years in this industry. Do we really think that what we are doing, the people who never heard of this, do they care about it? Is it going to change their lives? And it's a hard question, but it's an easy and hard question at the same time. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting question. So you make me think. So what happened in the past few years? So I would say, what the approach I did in Uptick project, it's not very typical right? So compared to many Web3 projects or crypto projects. So that there's a pros and cons, I would say. The good side is we keep our philosophy and the value system, try to move forward. So because I would say we are a firm believer of Web3 will lead to the next generation of internet. So that requires patience. Just like back to 2000, right? So at that time we experienced once. So I would say the history won't be the same, but it will repeat in cycles. So that actually makes me believe we are doing something valuable and will change the game for the next generation of internet. But the negative side, I would say not negative, but a little downside is we didn't act so quickly, right? So compared to other crypto projects. So in that case, so we look pretty traditional in the Web3 troop, but it's okay. So we just be ourselves. So back to your question. So yeah, so that's exactly what we really want to do, to influence people, to bring people into this journey, right? So basically, in our team. So most team member with me has been working with me for 10 years. So we are together as a family, just like a family. So they were not crypto people at all before. So but because they believe this vision and believe this kind of methodology, and gradually we move in to this industry, and now they become the key contributor from different angles. And also some of my business partners before. In the past, even right now, a lot of business people in the traditional business or Web2, they don't believe Web3. They just feel Web3 is just a fancy place, right? So it's not going to change anything, but just a bunch of people playing the tokens. But when they work with me, when I talk to them, for example, talk about how to do the Web2 to Web3 transformation, and why blockchain technology, smart contract, and the tokenomics can help them to upgrade their business model. And why tokenomics can really accelerate their user acquisition and user maintenance without really go out to raising huge money from the investors. So actually they are convinced. Some of them are convinced. So they like to do some experiment with us. So in this part, I would say we do influence some people and make some business people believe there's something real in the Web3 at this stage, even though it's pretty early stage. I remember I gave a talk to British Chamber of Commerce in Shanghai last year. So there's a group of entrepreneurs and business and executives in the audience. So after that, even though we didn't really talk about very specific models, but they become very interested in what we discussed, which is called Web3 transformation to change the business from traditional to Web3. So from that, actually, we made a lot of good friends. I would say those are the good resources we have, or you can say the future ecosystem partners we might have. Yeah, so that's the approach I'm making. So I don't mind people agree to it or not. We just keep doing. And also when people see, okay, you guys have been working in the field for 3 or 5 years, that means something, right? So otherwise basically, if it doesn't work well, well, or if it's not a real story, usually entrepreneur will change direction, right? So maybe after 6 months, I would present them a second project and a third project, fourth project. But they still see us, okay, you guys are still working on this one. And we see the progress. And that's some achievement, I would say, pretty encouraging us. Yeah. For another thing is, let me share with you another small story. I have a team member from UK. This guy, actually, I have never talked to him through voice, and we never see each other face to face. But he is a very key member of our team. So we just share the common vision and discuss the business and work together. Even I don't know where he is right now, probably somewhere in Southeast Asia, but it doesn't matter. So this also bring us just like a Web3 model, right? DAO model. So how can we reshape the future structure of our team to make sure it fit into Web3 business? Yeah, so I'm so glad. So I made friends like these people, and we have been working together for over 4 years. So I'm not sure I answered your question or not, but I do see there's a pretty good changes from the people around me.
I think you have, and I think it's interesting that I have been asking this question. I haven't asked it for about a year, anyone, but I have been asking this question people for 2-3 years. And I personally didn't think, and nobody that I asked did think of saying people I work with. So it's a very, very simple answer, but it's right there. So it's good. But I want to ask you, like, in sort of like, continuing to what you said, about working more than 3 and even close to 5 years, in the industry on the same project. It is quite rare today. There are today some projects that are starting to reach that mark. There are some that are older, some alive, some not alive. What is from your experience, because you from your story, your experience has been some ups, some downs, but you are more on the positive side, which is a great thing to see. And I think a lot of people, some people who listen to this, at least, right? I know that they are also founders or potential founders. And if they were to listen to you today, if you could give them maybe one thing what to do as a crypto founder and one thing what not to do, what would you say from the experience of Uptick? Something that is definitely people should do, and something people definitely should not do when they build in a crypto project, and trying to really to become crypto native, not just any crypto project, not running after VC money, but really trying to integrate their project into the Web3 economy like yourself.
Yeah. I would say, so we are still in the middle of the journey. So I'm not sure it's successful or not, but we just believe the direction is correct. Then it really depends on ourselves how to do it well, right? Sometimes it may also be not that smooth. But to the people, to the entrepreneurs, founders in this industry or want to jump into this industry, I would say, if you really believe it, right, just do it. Because if you believe something, you are not going to change your mind frequently. So that it will step by step, you can see the big change. And also on the Web3, I would say Web3 native projects like DeFi, fintech related, they're very creative. But again, no matter it's a Web3 native or Web2 to Web3 transforming projects, the business nature is the same, I would say. right? From the thousands years of human history. The business logic are the same. So we just using the different technology in different age to do it. So don't forget this. So we need to follow the business logic, business nature, which means the buyer and the seller. So merchant and consumer, they need to be served well, right? For just like maybe 1,000 years ago, people also doing the word of mouth marketing and word of mouth commerce, right? So when you try to buy something, you will ask your cousin, is that good, right? So did you try it? So then in the Web 2, so you will have social media commerce, social commerce. In Web 3, same thing. So I see some social protocols try to focus on this area because of the decentralization of data, personal data, and personal identity. The game is different. But no matter it's a decentralized data or centralized data, the business side, they still want to have a good traffic, good recommendation. So again, they want to good social graph. So even though we are using the technology to do them differently, but still we need to serve the purpose of the merchants and also protect the consumers, right? Well, so I would say, so that's my logic. I could be wrong, but I would say just think about the nature of business you want to do, right? So whether it can really benefit all the parties who participate. If that okay, then just do it, right? So there will be a lot of hurdles. Basically, we are doing online projects, online business to power the real economy. So there will be huge hurdle on any type of operations, right? The internet business really depends on the operation. It's not just a product ready, then go, right? So that's the starting point of the real journey. So operation will be the hard journey, right? So we have to go through that. So to support you go through that, you have to believe you are doing the right thing. So sometimes, I go to different parties, especially rooftop parties, right, or Web3. People are very excited to listen to different projects, different approaches. But again, if you are changing your mind so quickly, maybe you need to ask yourself, right, whether you are in the right one, or maybe you can do something very short term, but it's not going to change too much in the industry. If we really want to change the industry and bring them into the next generation of internet, let's keep the faith, right? So to think about the nature of the business.
I love the rooftop party reference there. Web3 / rooftop parties. I love that. That was amazing. I want to ask you a question in a slightly different direction. You talk, not you personally, but the website of Uptick. If I go on the Uptick documentation or website, by the way, here is something that should be interesting to you. I found out about Uptick from a podcast interview. I was doing an interview with somebody, and then I found out about Uptick like this about maybe half a year ago or something like that. But anyways, not. This is just some useful information for you. But there is a lot of information about decentralized, not information, but there is a lot of mention about decentralized infrastructure. And when I listen to your talks, there is also a lot of mention about adoption. And I don't mean today, but I mean in general, there are some things you sent me before, and there are some things when I go online and I can find, I don't have a very specific question as such in here, but I'm gonna make like a statement, and I want to see tell me what your thoughts are about it. And it's mostly about decentralized infrastructure, because decentralized infrastructure has, I guess, several layers of understanding. We can be referring to the software, we can be referring to the hardware, And I've noticed, at least personally lately, a trend. Maybe the trend is, I mean, right now is like for the listeners, this is being recorded at the beginning of October. So there is a trend on Twitter right now, on crypto Twitter, from self-hosting, especially in the Ethereum community, and home hosting, and about the benefits that it can bring or cannot bring. Now, also being personally, we are a self-hosted bare metal validator who has off-the-grid capabilities. But what we noticed is that value, that sort of weight that we can bring to the table is not as important. We noticed that a lot of projects, and it's not just I who noticed that. I think I feel that, at least, and this is what I'm going to make a question out of this. I'm sorry, Brian. It's just a small intro, and then I make a proper question. Like I guess that the question is, how important do you think the centralized infrastructure? What role does the centralized infrastructure plays today in Web3? And do you think that within that, concept of the centralized infrastructure, what role do providers play? People who provide the infrastructure, should the chains aim to decentralize their infrastructure, or should they all, I don't know, like stay in Hetzner and be super, have a very high liveliness and a very high ping and rely on centralized infrastructure? Is that what you mean by decentralized infrastructure at all? So it's a lot of questions together, but I don't know. Feel free to pick on whatever part you want to pick on and talk about it. I apologize for kind of not making it very specific.
Yeah, I think this is a great topic. I would say, in my view, decentralized infrastructure will become successful. It's not just because they are decentralized name, right? So because of the nature of that. And also for the Web2 industry moving to Web3, it's not just because of this fancy word, Web3 or decentralization. So we need to see the core value that we can bring to them. I would say it's still back to the basic, the blockchain technology. It can build a decentralized ledger system to bring people together, even though they don't trust each other. Right, to make sure they can make contributions to keep the network safe and also power the business on top of that. And also the smart contract size. Still, it's using the technology to building some kind of business logic into that. Then it still can bring the trustless world into a trustable business. Right, so that's the key for that. The third one, I would say, the tokenomics. Right, the tokenomics can really bring the value to each participant, no matter it's a consumer or a service provider. So they are paid based on their contribution in a, I would say, probably pretty fair way. So with that, let's go back to see the current business model. Which part we need to optimize it, which part we need to even change it, right? It sometimes be disruptive. So I think that's the value that Web3 and the decentralization can bring to the upgrade of the current business models, especially the platform-centric part. And the other part is the ownership, I would say. So we all talk about the crypto, right? So it's basically the ownership confirmation, right? So you own your data, then you own your asset, and then eventually you own your real business, right? So that's the ownership protected by the technology, not a paper of a legal contract. So that's, again, bring the trust into the trustless world. So I would say those are the essential part when we think about doing the real business in the Web3 world, the value it can bring to us. But still, I would say decentralization doesn't mean we need to remove the middleman. Because of the middleman, there's so many business can be done right now. But again, they are providing some valuable valuable service. If their service is valuable, they are still paid, right? So basically, I would say we're changing the monopoly platform into a technology-driven platform, decentralized platform, while all past middlemen become a service provider inside. So they are still providing the service and they earn the fair money they should earn, while we also distribute the benefits back to the consumer and the business side. So I would say probably that's actually that's our vision to do this kind of infrastructure. But again, when we talk about infrastructure, there's so many infrastructures in the market, right? So it's a general term. So what we really want to do is connect to the real business, because that's the future of internet. But again, when we do this infrastructure, should we consider us be a future monopoly party or not? If you really believe in Web3, we should not do that, right? So basically, we are building a decentralized infrastructure, means it's a public infrastructure. It's a public infrastructure open to everybody, right? So everybody can have a fair share inside and to do their business, including us. So we build it, doesn't mean we own it, right? So if we believe this kind of philosophy, then other business and the service providers, they will feel, okay, it's a fair chance to work together. Yeah, so I would say, yeah, decentralized infrastructure, the beauty of that is, those base blockchain tokenomics, smart contract, and the DID, ownership, you own your data kind of concept, and protected by technology. At the same time, on the project side, we need to also have the decentralized infrastructure mindset, that we will never be the monopoly person, and we should build the public infrastructure, which benefit everybody, including us, right? So because in some crypto projects, basically some projects, I don't think they are real Web3 projects, but they are using the Web3 technology to do the token sale, token stuff. But again, they want to own everything, right? They want to own as many as they can. And even like in the past, I would say, I'm not sure it's right or wrong, but my opinion is in the past, the NFT market, it began, it excited everybody, right? Especially the creators in the very beginning. Then people feel, okay, my IP, my digital works got confirmed by my ownership, and I can get my fair share in the future trade, right? So that's so beautiful. It has been it's a big problem for decades. But again, if the industry move too fast on the token token price side, you can see it's losing the spirit, right? So even some creators, they finally they say, okay, we are not in the center of this game at all, right? We just become another victim inside, because our loyalty never got respected, right? Some platform, they want to boost the sales. They even ignore the loyalty share with creators, right? So that actually hurt a lot of the creators. So I think on this side, we need to rethink how can we really bring those real contributors into the center of the stage, right? When they are all in, no matter it's from creator economy side, from sharing economy side, or even from loyalty, fan economy side. If we can really bring the right people into the center of the stage, then the real business will grow, right? So this kind of a decentralized infrastructure, I would say, will be sustainable.
There is a few more things I want to ask you about, and I'm thinking that probably won't be able to. So I'm trying to pick the one question to concentrate on, and I think that what I want to ask is this. Considering that Uptick, everything that you were saying now, about building Web3 projects in a decentralized way and attracting, the right, providing the businesses and the customers, the infrastructure, which is not owned by anybody. This sounds like, a lot of different parties with a lot of different interests, which brings me to the community question. It's very, to me, tribalism has been one of the biggest problems in crypto and in blockchain in general. People are very emotional about their tokens. People are they're ready to kill you, like if you just say the wrong thing about their token, they will take a knife and murder you. Of course, I'm over-exaggerating. People, I love everybody. Let's not kill anybody. But, the question is, jokes aside, how do you, in a project which is obvious, whose, in my opinion at least, whose goal is to incorporate the more the better and to provide like a marketplace or so to speak, there is where people communicate, a platform where people can exchange goods, businesses, services, whatever. How do you concentrate on building a multi-chain community without, without all the problems that sometimes can arise when you build a multi-chain community? Because Ethereum people, Cosmos people, Bitcoin people, Polkadot people, Near people, whatever. How do you make it all work together?
Yeah, very good question. So I would say this is very, very challenge in our life. So even in Uptick community, we are not doing that very well yet. So I would say in the past few years, right? So all the community, they want to grow inside the community or bring more people into their community to grow. But again, so this becomes the people so compete with each other, right? So in the actually, when we try to use Cosmos SDK build our base layer, so I really like the vision of an internet of blockchain. Right, so there's no separate island. So you cannot be the monopoly, even though it's a decentralized blockchain community. So we need to work together. We need to have just like in Uptick, it's a small one, but we will build it as just like a small country, like a small economy zone. So we are not focusing on everything. We want to focusing on some special area to make it best. So back to the community building. So this is quite challenging. So that's why. So we try to build Discord channel and a Telegram channel. But in Discord channel, we try to have multiple channels inside, right? So we want to have a quality topic over there, but still I don't see too many, frankly speaking. But on the general main chat in the Telegram, people, they are more focusing on for example, token or some marketing event things. So not many people talk about the cross-chain interoperability, the base layer, protocol layer, some business models. But still, I think that's normal to me eventually. Just like we are in a democratic society, right? So people have different voices. Key contributors are always minimal, a small amount of people, right? Small group of people, and the other people will listen and will help to promote. And also we might have some people disagree with we are doing, and some people will challenge our strategy. So I think that's that's all good pressures on every project. So so that's we also experienced some in the recent months. So people might question whether are you moving too slow, or are you thinking about the real Web3 way? Are you really going to deliver this kind of infrastructure and connect to the real economy? Yeah, so I think those challenges are pretty, sometimes it's pretty strong. But I think that's pressure on me and on my team. So if we are already working on this one for 4 years, so we really we need to deliver something as soon as possible. But on the other side, we need to control the quality. We want to make sure, again, the right use cases should come in. We should not invent something by ourselves and pretend it's a good one, right? So that's well, every day we're doing the trade-offs. Even the team, they have been working with me for a long time, right? If any people need to be rewarded, they probably are the first group of people deserve it, right? So does our validators and also other community members. So I think that's creating a very positive pressure on us. Yeah, so for the interoperability part, we want to unite other ecosystem community. So it's not just stealing people from one way to another, but we want to tell them, okay, if we are connected, so you might get more benefits from that, right? So even though we are focused on different vertical categories, but still we can grow together, right? 1+1 should be bigger than 2. That's the philosophy we want to deliver to different economies. Yeah.
It makes sense. I think that philosophy of together we will achieve more is something that definitely should work, and I can see it work. Brian, two very quick different questions to finish. This is going to be completely different questions. So it's like a very quick blitz question. This is like to finish the conversation, to take us out of this. One, please recommend a good book that you have that has a positive influence on you over the last, 5, 10, whatever years, something you would recommend with a positive influence, or a song. It could be a song or a book. It doesn't matter. Or a movie also. Just one.
Mm-hmm. I would say if you say just one book, I would say one influenced me a lot was a pretty useful book called Sovereign Individual. So that was a interesting book, right? So I guess you also know it.
It's a good answer.
Yeah, it was published in 1997, I guess. That was the early days of internet. But because of the information revolution, microchips, and internet, they predicted the direction of the future world, right? So and even including some part of the crypto and right. So I would say this actually influenced me a lot. That's the strength inside me that to move forward because we believe this is the direction to go, right? So otherwise, what an awful waste we have been working in this industry, right? So the industry, the business, all need to go back to its nature. So Web3 actually is the solution to that. I would say this book is a good one, and I highly recommend it to people who didn't know it.
Just for all the listeners, guys, just to remind you guys, girls, under the show notes on the podcast, you can find all the links to everything me and Brian mentioned, the books, the project. So please go on there and have a look. Brian, one last question, I promise, in the same sort of style. Give me one motivational thing, something motivational that keeps Brian every day waking up, getting out of bed, trying to build, decentralized economy, decentralized infrastructure, trying to bring Web 2 and Web 3 together, and, being a digital entrepreneur and everything that you stand for. What is this? Not necessarily the thing, but something motivational that helps you make that happen every day.
Well, I would say the biggest thing for me is every day I wake up. First I believe we are doing the right thing in the right direction. The second part, the pressure on me is to really to make sure the people following me or believe me, they won't go wrong, right? So that's the real strength, pressure on me, and also I think it's a very positive pressure. At the same time, right now, after several cycles in crypto industry, I would say this year, when people talk about narratives, so it seems to me not too many good ones or no too many new ones, right? So, but in my view, actually the old narrative still is the big one, which is the massive adoption. So if we can really do that in the next year, so that will bring the real Web3 into the everyday life. So that's why we work so hard for so many years. And I also believe this might be the right timing to think about that and to discuss with the industry and also bring the infrastructure to make sure it will happen one way or another. Yeah. So yeah, that's what encouraging me every day.
Even I just want to say, even your notification sounds great. It was quiet all this hour, and then as soon as you said that notification, bing, it's like, yes, please, no. I was no. Sorry, it was just a funny moment. It was exactly the right time to do that. The bing. Brian, that is a very good, nice answer. At least I thoughtfully enjoyed that last answer for sure. Very positive in my opinion. I want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank you everybody for listening. And everybody, until next time. And Brian, please don't hang up just yet. And everybody else, thank you, and see you next week. Goodbye. Bye, Brian.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for giving me this chance to talk. Yeah, let's keep in touch.
Thanks, Brian. Please don't hang up just yet. Bye-bye.
This content was created by the Citizen Web3 Validator. If you enjoyed it, please support us by delegating on citizenweb3.com/staking and help us create more educational content.